one's warm. This one I think is neutral. So cool. So the warm ones, or the one that I think is warm, is called Cherry Pit Black. The one that I think is neutral is Peach Stone Black, and the one that I think is cool, it's a Grapeseed Black. In case you like any of the particular shades in here. This is my Holbein palette, same one I use for watercolor. These are all removable, so it can be washed easily, so I'm gonna use these. Put this here, so let's just remember what we're working with. I have my usual brushes in here, which are Black Velvets and by Silver. Yeah, one is a 1-inch brush, one round brush, and then one 1/2-inch brush that I use for, since we're going to paint interior. These are the brushes that I will most likely to use, and if I add any other brushes, I will tell you during the video. I will just start with trying out what these colors actually are, how they look like. For that I will do 3 watercolors. This is charcoal, right? So that's not watercolor. I'm prepared for it to behave a bit differently. This is our warm. This is our neutral. This will also allow me to gauge whether I judge them correctly in terms of warmness. And this is supposed to be cool, and yes, I did. So you see the clear difference in how warm or how cool the shade is. For this painting, I will be using one of the reference photos that I took in Sweden last year. I'm gonna do an interior scene this time, preparing for Christmas really. I was planning to paint this scene for over a year, and I finally got there. I will attach the photo for you if you like, but if you can find something with maybe similar composition but of your own, that will be much more preferable instead of copying what I do. Otherwise, if you feel like you're more of a beginner level, please feel free to just repeat what I do if that makes you comfortable. It's just, if you post it somewhere, tag me and say where this came from, and also you are not supposed to sell the artworks that you create following other artists' reference photos and instructions. So if you're building your portfolio, I do suggest you to find your own reference for that and just follow the technique, their sequence and everything, but the photo needs to be your own if you're building your portfolio and if you're building a stash of works to sell potentially later. I'm also making it part of this series of works, which is done on the same paper. So it's not the same. Okay, it's not gonna be the same exactly because it's different size, but okay, we're gonna still make it a series. I'm just going to tape the edges off. The paper is, I think, 600 grams, so I'm not going to attach it to anything, but I'm going to make a nice frame for this work. A bit wider on the bottom so I can fit the signature, and even on the top and on the sides. When painting is hanging on the wall, having a bit more space on the bottom, whether it's passepartout or the painting itself, helps to create an impression that it's actually right in the middle of the paper, as opposed to when you just put it right in the center of the paper, as often passepartouts are done in most of the frameries. That will always feel like there is a little bit, like half a centimeter missing on the bottom. So I always like to bring the painting up a little bit. And I'm going to use my Lakme pencil to just draft up a little bit of the scene that I'm making. So as always, I'm using the rule of thirds for most of my paintings. It's the most classic rule of composition, and I use it. It's always a win. So on this intersection, there's gonna be a lump. It's gonna be fairly big. Here's the tassels, here's the lump. I don't have to be too precise with that, with these lines. And this is gonna be the pole of the lump, and then I'll make it a little taller than it actually is for the sake of the artwork, so it's not so squat. So when you take a photo, it usually kind of squats everything, makes it flatter and less tall than it actually is. So I'm going to correct that. So knowing that, you can use your photos a bit more efficiently. So there is a sofa here somewhere. It doesn't matter much how much of the stuff is inside, but I'm gonna add some cushions here. It might not matter where they end here, because there are less details around the edges of the painting, especially for me here on the bottom. My main focus will be this lamp. So this lamp is the hero of my painting. There is a window there behind. I make sure that none of these lines that are connecting, none of the objects that are intersecting in any of the kind of in any of the corners, right? So if there is a cushion here, it's not gonna, and this corner is not gonna be in the same place as this bottom of the window, for example. Same for the lamp. The lamp has to be whether here or there, preferably intersecting, not just touching the curtain. Like for example, on the right, you can see the curtain is actually like almost at the edge of the lamp, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put it even further in here. And then we have some Christmas going on there, which is this very Swedish chandelier. And I'm going to just sketch it out quickly, because why am I sketching these outlines? Because I need to know where my my lights stay light so I don't go into them again. And I'm quite tired, so that means it will be much harder for me to speak and paint direct watercolor at the same time, so I'm not. It's not visible on my photo, but this chandelier will be symmetrical, and I know that because I've seen it. It's a house of my husband's grandma. And it's the most Christmassy thing that I've ever seen. The most Christmassy house that I've ever seen in my life is my in-laws and my husband's grandma house. It's pretty incredible what they do with the home for Christmas. So there is that house made of something. Usually all of that is handmade, hand-painted, painted. But too many details are not that important in here. I'm gonna just imagine there was some kind of actually table behind, so I'm gonna add just a few pictures like that, because I wasn't able to fit the pictures that are on the wall, so I'm gonna pretend that they're gonna stand on the table behind. And there is some fern. The fern will have to be right outside the chandelier, somewhere here. And then we're gonna see that there is indeed a window. By having this window pane, pane, to pronounce that, visible. And that's gonna be the handles, just roughly. There's something going on behind, but it's not gonna be important because when I took that photo, it was day, but when I was actually sketching it, it was night. I'm actually tempted to turn this wall into an actual wall. Whoa. So I'm going to use the window finishes somewhere there. That means that some of the darkness will be visible overlapping with the curtain. And again, you see I'm avoiding the line of the lamp post, the line of the picture here. What do I do? I think I'm gonna leave that curtain on the top just to make it cozy, the whole thing. I don't really need this vertical lines as long as I have the bottom. Maybe I can stop the curtain actually here instead of getting it all the way. I am going to, after all, add a few pictures right there. And I will leave this big one here as well. I'll just take the painting from somewhere else, so I imagined it. Maybe it can be grandma here, you know. I love drawing paintings on the walls in my paintings, so I'm gonna leave it and have it. Okay. There's a vase behind. And these kind of branches that grandma really likes, so I'm gonna leave them. And some of them do have the red bubbles on them, and I'm gonna have them here. So as you see, I design my painting based on the memory of a scene as much as on the photo itself. Incorporating things that were important for me and for people who were in that, who live in that house. And I can add details on the back later or on the front as I paint. So here we go, that's the first stage. The line work is done. Let's move on to the actual color. So we have 3 shades of charcoal, a cool one, a neutral one, and a warm one. And I'm going to structure my paintings the way I would structure any of my paintings if I used color. That means that the shadows, or in my case, the foreground and what's inside the apartment will be the warm color, and the further it is on the outside and the shadows will be a cool color. So I will start blocking out. There might some watercolor gets into that accidentally, but I'm gonna take a big brush and start with the cooler shades of the charcoal. I have no idea how this paper is gonna behave, so you'll see me improvising. And I'm going to just paint over everything except for the elements that's gonna be light, which is my lamp and the things here. And then there are bubbles, there are reflections. I'm gonna just ignore them for now. Oops. The painting rushes me to paint. I'm gonna use water and the biggest brush to quickly block out the lights. As it goes into the interior, so the window is our exterior, as it goes into interior, I'm gonna add the warmer color here. And I keep on the cool side when I paint here. Well, because it's charcoal, I'm sure when it's dry it can be actually removed with an eraser, and we're gonna test that. We're gonna test that idea on this edge, for example, where I did a little mistake. I'm gonna just outline these things so I don't lose them. Very easy to lose them when you work with a wide, big brush. So far, the texture is absolutely stunning. So I'm just gonna paint over all of that. Lines barely visible, but I know where they are. It will help me also to remove the details that I might have accidentally, well, accidentally, not very accidentally drawn. And which I don't frankly need. Okay, and then I'm gonna use the warmer color to start adding up down here, because that's interior, that's where it gets warmer. That's why we have yellow lights. If you I hope you do have warm lights in your interior, because otherwise I'm sure you're not sleeping very great. But there you go. And I already noticed that I don't use much neutral because it's one extra step that I feel like it's a bit too much for me. Okay, I'm gonna remove the water from the sides and the beads of water that accumulated on the sides. My paper is flat. That means that it just runs everywhere in all directions. You can tilt it down for that. This way it will all flow down beautifully. Then while it's wet, I'm gonna add a bit of that warm into this element, because it's in the interior, and even on the photo you can see that the light falls there. And in here, blocking out the the lights, the shades, and the interior, and separating it from the exterior. That will be very cold. Okay, I leave it to dry. Then I leave it to dry naturally, because I want to see how first my paper and second the material itself behaves for me. Alright, that's all dry. For me it's been a few days, for you it's probably a few minutes just to let it dry, or dry it out with the hair dryer, which if you do can disrupt the granulation. By the way, just reminding you, I've found this sketch that I've done before of the same place, and I'm going to use that sketch instead of a photo to paint further. Now the composition is slightly different, but it doesn't matter so much. Here I will just start blocking out the darkest darks with the warm shade of the charcoal. I'm making a puddle right here, so I have enough and I don't have to go back and reintroduce water and risk all of it drying. Then Just gonna see where my lines are. My lines disappeared, so pretty much useless to have any. So I'm just gonna do this. I'm going around the light areas. I should have taken a flat brush for that, but hey, who was ever avoiding the challenge? Not me. Okay. And what I like doing is removing the sharpness of details close to the edges of the painting by simply dragging a clean wet brush right beside the paint. So instead of introducing water into that paint, the color leaks into the wet area. Then I'm going to soften this part. We're doing the same thing. And I'm just dragging around some paint around this example, around this candle, the house, just defining some edges right away. There's a pillow here. Going to do the same on the other window pane. Actually, I'm going to add some color here first. So there is some gradient towards the middle. On my sketch, I have darker area on the top here. This is what it looked like. In reality, this is not how I'm making it. I need the contrasts all concentrated around the lights. So that's why I'm keeping it. And then again. I'm using a big brush to quickly fill up the space without any brush marks. Ideally, of course, I should have done a bigger puddle of paint here to cover everything I needed. And actually, I took the wrong color. I took the wrong color. Oh my god. Okay, I'm just gonna continue with that. I should have been cool color, you guys. And that's what happens when I talk and paint, because I can only do one thing or other properly. And this is exactly why sometimes I post videos without any comment, so you see how I actually paint when I fully concentrate. So to me, I failed my task with this painting right away already now. I'm going to take a smaller flat brush. Make sure it has as much paint as the big one had. I'm going to go around these guys. Because I need certain precision here. And with wet brush, blurring the paint around the clean wet brush, blurring the paint around the candles, and adding some water for the next details. Adding more color here to emphasize the candles. There are not many pencil details left here. That makes it a little bit difficult. And I'm actually pretty sure I'm not up to the task, but let's see. I want you to see my successes as well as my mistakes, and the sheer fact that these mistakes happen. You can't avoid them. And very often you can be unhappy about your painting, but nobody will ever notice it, that something's wrong with it. That's another lesson from this. That the way you see the painting is not the way people see that. That's why I never ever highlight mistakes in my paintings that I think are mistakes to anyone, because simply nobody cares. It's none of anyone's business if you think your painting is good or bad, if you think you made a mistake or not. It's absolutely none of anyone's business. This is the curtain detail right away here. Same with the abajur detail right there. And then I'm going to define some of the details because they are dark and they will be dark, and I will keep them dark. Where is my... see, everything kind of just disappeared there. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just draw a line here all the way down, really straight, and then add details on top of that line. A trick I use very often in my sketches, when I just draw a line all the way down without looking whether it fits, whether it's like stops anywhere, especially for buildings. Just draw a line and then add the horizontal details across it. And sometimes it's good because it's kind of, it doesn't matter because the line disappears in the paint. But in sketches, for example, when you do it with a pen, you will see that line that is vertical, but you'll be surprised that nobody will ever really pay attention to that line. It will only add visual structure to your painting, to your sketch when you do that, and will help you to make less mistakes when you build something. Right? I'm starting to see a bit more details here, which is fantastic. Where's my pillows? I have the pillows. I will have to just define a little bit of the edges of these pillows. I hope you can see it. I can't really see my camera. And again, I take a brush, a clean brush, and I make sure that the edge is not clean cut everywhere. Especially on the edges, all your details need to be concentrating on in like kind of middle part of your painting, and that's where your darkest darks go and the lightest lights go. And here I just put everything into one shadow because that's against the light. There will be some lights from where we see the scene, but not as many as this lamp, which will be the hero of my painting. So in here we don't have to have a lot of details. We don't have to draw the entire sofa in the way I did on my sketch. In a black and white version and in the painting version, not a sketch, that shadow melts into, all the shadows melt into each other. And then I will make sure I define the top of the sofa because the light will drop right above on the edge of the sofa, and that means that everything else above will be darker than that light that will fall. and I'm kind of building that shadow around here. Somewhere away from the light, things will be a bit darker, maybe even a bit cooler. I'm just adding a bit more color right on the edges here before it completely dries. And then there will be shadow on the curtain as well. That will help us further define the sofa and the light on the bottom. The light on the curtain falls from up where the lamp is, and it will be in this curves. It will curve around the folds that you have, and the same here. Just adding the adding the texture for the curtain and the light playing on the folds, and blending everything else into a non-detail. Right. Now I'm going to add a little bit here. It cannot be all white, so I'm gonna just add the shadow. I first put some water on it, rub it all across the lamp, and then into the wet I will add the color, but remember that the lamp itself will be somewhere inside here, so you will have a little bit of the edges, white edges, and a lighter portion here. Just a clean brush, dry, and wipe it out in the middle. I noticed that I couldn't remove the charcoal with an eraser, so that's why I'm doing that right away, just removing the sharpness and the darkness with the brush right away. But you can kind of amend it by re-wetting it and just removing the extra paint. For example, I can do with some softness here in the candles. That's what I'm gonna do. Just remove some edges around candles. A synthetic or Kolinsky brush is much better for removing the paint off the paper because they are a bit easier to work with. Because the hair is a bit stiffer. But I'm too lazy to take a different brush. Okay, what do I do? Shaping up into a nice cozy scene. Going to remove some sharpness from some of the edges. Actually, you might need a kitchen towel for that. I'll show you. What you do, make sure that everything is dry, and then you add and rub in water or clean wet brush right into the edges, and then you immediately remove it with the towel. See how the edge softened. So that adds a little bit of this soft, shiny quality to the lamp. To remove some here on the bottom. I will add a detail inside. Not too bright, huh? Then I'll add a bit of the darker elements. There is one vase here, and again it can be nice and soft on the edges, so just some of it appears in the picture, but not attracting too much attention to itself. It's on the edge, it's peeking out from the shadow, so we don't really need a lot of detail there. And then there is another vase that will be just I'm just emphasizing the side of the curtain. Actually, I will just let it dry a little bit. This is still wet. What we can do, actually what I can do, is to I'll take the cool one and I see how that works. There is no theory in this picture, guys, anymore. I kind of screwed the idea of cool and warm that I wanted. The warm was supposed to be inside, the cool outside. I completely negated that when I painted the inside the window warm. But what I can do is I can imagine a room behind. Another window, for example. And maybe a cabinet. It stands right there. And some light above. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just make it all nice and fuzzy again and make the details disappear and just hint on something going on there. The reflections, the hint of reflections that might be going on in there. And then I think I will add that shadow of the, or reflection rather, of the small curtain above. Not sure how this curtain is called, but I will add a bit of the shadows into that curtain. Can add small details. Again, not bright. I just wipe most of them right away. There is another layer of tassels behind. They don't necessarily repeat this one, so they are a bit offset. Go. Again, just remove some of it. And then I will take a flat brush, a small flat brush, and using the same color, I will add the pictures. In order to add a line with a flat brush, all you need is actually the easiest. All you need is to touch it up like that to the surface, line by line, as if you're making stitches with the needle, and then you remove the sharpness. This is my husband's grandma house, so this she's an art collector. She knows everyone, every single artist that she collected. She follows a story of, she knows what the private life is. A lot of them she actually knew in person. followed their lives for their entire lives, which is pretty amazing, because she is, I think she's like 90 something, but when you ask her about the artists in the books she has on the pictures, she can tell you the entire story. A lot of these artists are feminists or the spouses of the feminist activists that she knows and perhaps worked with, because she is a very passionate feminist. She's still active. She still goes and has these gatherings with her tribe. I don't know what this group that she's part of, but she's still politically, I think, active as well. Adding the door handles here, and then a little bit of the structure of the window. So yeah, she's pretty amazing, and she has her house full of art and the embroidery and things, and the upholstery, the cushions, she often embroidered herself. She's a highly creative person in that family. So I'm adding the things that are very important and represent her house in my head, which is, for example, the embroidery on the cushions. A bit too dark. And again, without having too many details on the bottom, I'll just take a clean brush and wash some of them off. And then this one will have a little bit of a character. That again I will wash off. So there is just a hint on it, and probably on this one as well. I only wish I could talk to her in English, because she doesn't speak enough English to have a conversation, but she is one of the most interesting people that I ever met and I can't talk to. I'm removing all the details from the edges whatsoever that they barely touch the edge. We'll add a bit more darkness in some places. A little bit of the tassels here. And then one little thing I forgot is There is a vase here behind, which is white. Clean white vases is a very Swedish thing. And need I remind you, this is a Swedish grandma. And we have a flower in that vase that just goes everywhere. And then there are these shiny Christmas bubbles. As tiny details added. Is the darkest color. Some perhaps reflections that will help us to emphasize the lights. Imagine there is another lamp which is dark there, just reflecting in the shadow. Okay, let me see from above what I've done. I'm really happy with that, you guys. I wish I could stick to the cool and warm, but that's something for me to try maybe on a smaller scale, and starting with the thumbnails and then progressing to bigger painting. I think I was a bit too ambitious starting with the big format and then losing my attention, which is kind of short. So we have it. Black and white version of Grandma's house. I did want to do it in color. I'll see if I still want it when I'm back from Italy, or we will switch to something a bit more exciting instead of repeating the same theme. But I'm really happy with that. I'll see you guys in the next video, and thank you for staying here with me. Bye.